So I wanted to make this video for anybody out there that's feeling like they're not good enough and feeling like there's something wrong with them. And maybe you're going down this self-improvement rabbit hole on YouTube, trying to fix this about yourself, fix that about yourself. And you're realizing that the more things you fix, the worse you feel about yourself. And you're just like, what the hell's going on? Maybe you're coming to this realization that maybe the problem is not outside of you. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. And really wanted to make this video for like a younger version of myself that's going on this journey, wondering why nothing's working, wondering no matter how successful I become or how much I accomplish in this life, I just still feel like I'm not good enough. Nothing that I do will ever be good enough. And yeah, I wanted to explore that feeling today and what I've learned about it. The origin of the feeling, where does this feeling come from? So in my experience, it's been when you grow up with, a parent or parents that are emotionally neglectful and or are abusive in some way, you kind of developed a sense of inferiority growing up. There's something wrong with you. And that could be one of the reasons. And that was, one of my reasons. No matter what I did, it's never going to be good enough. Yeah, I think it's a common experience where, you can come home with an A on your report card and then be like, why is that not an A plus? And these things may seem insignificant right now, but as a child with your limited ability to process emotions, it's kind of like you internalize these things. Especially if you're a sensitive person, you internalize it a lot more. And that's what I feel happened to me. I mean, that's like scratching the surface of the origin of the emotion. But the idea is that the seed gets planted in childhood somewhere. Maybe you verbally, physically abused, maybe you're bullied. And the more of these experiences you kind of tally up, the more the seed grows within you, the more it gets watered and it just becomes this, big forest of not being good enough. And then you're carrying this whole forest of not being good enough within you. And you can still be a 32-year-old man still feeling that, because those feelings from childhood haven't been processed yet because a child can't process them. So what do you do as an adult when you're feeling this way? What we've been taught to do, or what I've learned, is improve myself. That's the kind of messaging I was exposed to. And I had YouTube, I had Tony Robbins, I had all this self-help stuff, and I found, solace in that. I found an escape. I can find a solution finally to not feeling good enough. So if I improve myself in all these dimensions, then I'm going to feel good enough. That's where I started this journey of improving myself. When you feel this inferiority inside you, and you're also a logical person that, solves problems, your mind tries to come in and help. Your mind's like, oh, you're not feeling good enough. Maybe it's because of this. Maybe it's because of that. So your mind's going to generate infinite ways to improve yourself, infinite reasons why you're not good enough, and it's going to try give you these solutions to fix all these things about you, and then finally you can be good enough. And that's when my journey kind of started, in high school, when I was socially awkward and I had pimples all over my face, and I just was carrying a lot of shame. I just didn't feel confident in my skin at all. So one by one I worked through these things. I really wanted to, clear up my acne, wanted to look in the mirror and not be ashamed of my face. Also, my anxiety was because I was ashamed of my face that I couldn't express myself or talk to people. I did have a group of friends, but outside of that comfort group, I couldn't really talk to new people or make new friends. So I thought that once I could finally learn to express myself, then I'm going to be good enough. That's another rabbit hole that I went down. How do I develop these social skills? How do I become more competent, confident socially? And I got to this point where I could be perceived as socially competent. I could be perceived as charismatic, witty, funny, whatever you want to attribute to a socially well-adjusted person. However, on the inside, I was still feeling this deep sense of inferiority, this deep sense of I'm not good enough. Every time I went into a social situation, it was just exhausting because I was always performing, because I was always trying to run away from this feeling of not being good enough. So I wasn't actually getting to the root of this feeling of not being good enough. Why is it that I feel that people don't like me? Or why is it that I feel that everything I say is stupid or it's not interesting or, I'm boring? Why do I have these feelings where somebody doesn't even know me? Instead of really addressing that, I would learn social skills and they would work. I would get through these situations and I would do well in these situations, but I was still carrying this ball of shame and this guilt. I was lugging it around with me everywhere, and it was heavy and it was just exhausting. It didn't really get to the root of the issue. And then from that point, it became this like addiction. Became another form of escapism. For feeling like I'm not good enough, and the mind's like, okay, what's next? Okay, I know something else you can fix. Once you do this, then you'll be good enough. And I'm like, okay, let's do that. I'm not smart enough. Okay, once you read X amount of books, or once you do all these courses, then you're going to be smart enough. The paradox is the more things you do, the more you run away from this feeling, the more it reinforces this idea that you're not good enough. Because you're like, set this expectation that once I do this feeling's gonna go away, but it doesn't go away, it gets stronger. And then you're like, I must be like fundamentally broken in some way that's irreversible, unfixable. That's where I found myself in this escapism through external accomplishments and external successes. All these things that I thought, once I do X, I'm going to be good enough. Once I move out of my parents' house, I'm going to be good enough. Once I get a good job, I'm going to be good enough. Once I start my own business, I'm going to be good enough. Once I make X amount of money in my business, I'm going to be good enough. And the list goes on and on and on. It's like this endless treadmill that you can be on, because the mind is going to generate infinite reasons if you give it the task to try to fix this problem. The reason is this feeling. The feeling of not being good enough is just that. It's a feeling. And feelings are not facts. Feelings don't want to be fixed. Feelings just want to be seen. They want to be acknowledged. And they want to be heard. So if external solutions aren't the answer to this feeling of not being good enough, then what do you do about it? You find ways to digest this feeling. So in the last 6 months, I've made so much more progress than I have in the last 10 years of self-improvement. Not to say that the self-improvement was a waste of time and that, I regret it or it wasn't useful, because a lot of it was useful. But the problem was I wasn't doing any internal work. So I wasn't digesting these emotions. I was just, building more and more armor on the outside and getting further and further away from this emotion. I wasn't actually getting to the root of the feeling of not being good enough. Like, why am I doing all these things? And I wasn't really addressing that. The issue is, it's these feelings that are trapped inside of you. And whatever method speaks to you to get them out is a ways to digest the emotion. So journaling, writing about it is a way to digest the emotion. Going to therapy, talking about the emotion is a way to digest it. Doing meditation is allowing you to feel the feeling and be aware of it and not judge it, not resist it is another way to digest the emotion when it comes up. The point that I'm trying to drive home is really the intention and the awareness that there's internal work that needs to be done. And there's so many different methods out there, and to try things and see what resonates and sticks with you. Yoga is another thing that I've done. Just anything that kind of gets you into your body. In terms of therapy, talk therapy doesn't work that great for me. What has worked is IFS therapy, which is a form of therapy that's like body-based and gets you into your body and really gets you in touch with the feeling, as opposed to talking about the feeling. You talk to the feeling. And one of the main things that helps with this feeling of not being good enough is connection. This feeling of not being good enough is a symptom of, disconnection from yourself and disconnection from other people. I find that in times where I cultivate my spirituality by doing a regular practice like meditation or yoga, I find that this feeling of not being good enough kind of goes away. It doesn't show up in any way, shape, or form. But Soon as I, start feeling this disconnection, I stop doing my practices. That's when this feeling appears again. The last point on connection is community. So finding like-minded people around you that are going on similar journeys. That's a journey that I'm on right now, to find that in real life. But I've been fortunate enough to find communities online that make me feel safe and make me feel seen. In that process of feeling seen, feeling safe, you feel that you're good enough. You're not less than, you're not greater than, you're just, you are. So yeah, if you feel like you're not good enough or there's something wrong with you and you're looking outside, finding solutions outside, and you're not finding anything that's permanent, maybe there's more internal work that needs to be done now than external work. Maybe you find that the more internal work that you do, the less you feel this need to improve externally. And that's just something to find out for yourself. So yeah, if you have any experiences with not feeling good enough or how you overcame this, anything else you want to express, drop it in the comments below, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.